So welcome to the third session, live tech coaching. We have just done a little bit of alignment on goal, today's goal. Let me show you the mirror. So we have a first focus to continue basically on the last session, covering the grid class and cleaning it up. And if we reach that, we'll focus on another big class. And we'll probably be using approval testing. And we were discussing a bit on how to do this together, and came up with the idea that those who know approval testing a bit, me and Johannes, will be navigating. So when we switch, we will switch between the two of us, and then we'll go through. Lars, Jonas, and Guillaume will start off as typists only, and when they feel ready, they can join up in the navigating part too. And hopefully we'll get some approval testing done. Okay, so Lars, are you ready to do some typing?
I am. Let's go.
Intelligent keyboard. So I'll stop share. Cool. Yes, this is the tetrad. Okay, so my first intent would be to I just want to see how much coverage we have on the bounded grid. Yeah, there we have it. Yes. So we still have some red. Do you have the latest version of code?
Do.
And I was a bit surprised because when I ran it, I only saw the get occupied locations. Maybe we didn't have, but we do. I can see we have some remove tests. That's a bit surprising. Let's. Could we run the tests with the coverage and just check that is?
Please remind me how to run the.
Yeah, do you see the drop down up to the right? Grid approval tests, and then 3 icons right there. You have a little shield. It's the coverage.
Sorry, thank you.
No problem. Okay, yeah.
Here we go.
I think I would actually like to start cleaning things instead of adding more tests. So because we have quite some tests since previous. If you go up to the put function, I think we can do a similar refactoring to what we did with get last time. So in the get, we just simplified it a lot by seeing that the for loops were just redundant. So I think I suspect we can do a similar refactoring here.
By checking if the location is valid and then putting the element into that position.
Yeah, so I think we can just remove the for loops. This is my suspicion. I don't understand why they're there.
What do we have the former for?
It's for return value.
All right, so we're putting something returning what it was before. Check.
Yep.
So if the location is valid, then we simply write the elements to it. What if it isn't?
Yeah, so I'd like to go back to pristine state again, because I think we already do valid checking in get, so we could just simplify it even more.
What did you have in mind?
We could just take that occupant array. I think this, just setting that member in occupant array. So line 43.
Wouldn't we not, if the wasn't valid, then we would get null here, but we can still come here with an invalid location.
Good point. So I think we could add a test for that first then, so that we check how the current behavior is. So let's remove all changes. Thank you. So that's a good point. So what would we expect if we have an invalid location in the put?
some kind of exception.
Yeah, let's see what I don't remember what is valid does. Does it do some exception, or what does it do?
Boolean.
Okay, it's just checking, and then if it's not valid, it returns null. Get returns null. Let's do this. Let's write a test and see what happens. How put behaves currently, because that's what it does. So that's the
put on invalid location.
That's a good name. Good session. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it just silently accepts it, it seems. So maybe we could rename the test to something like put on an invalid location is silent. Oh. So we have rotation. Jonas, do you want to do some with typist?
I just realized I'm using Visual Studio Code and I have no code coverage here. So
that's a concern.
Yeah, so if we could give me a switch the order, give me a few minutes and I'll get IntelliJ installed and set up here.
Cool, thank you. So Guillem, are you up for some typing? Typist?
Yeah.
Typist hat.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah. Soon. Yeah, we got the code. And wait, did we try the typist recap pattern in one of the previous sessions?
We did.
We did. Do you want to try it, Lars?
So we are putting our efforts into the put methods. We want to refactor it. We were unsure about how it handled an invalid location, so we just wrote the test for it, and we saw that it simply ignores it.
Nice. And Johannes, do you want to take over navigating?
Yes, I will ask for help, but I can try. Yeah.
Sure.
Should we wait until the new screen is shared?
Oh yeah, I'll pause the timer. Good.
There's something that bothers me about the test. There is no assert statement. We are just running something and we don't assert on anything. I'd like to change this. So silently ignores, what is our expectation? Like how would the assert statement look like for that test? Does the grid look like before, or I don't know who can help. Like, I'm asking everyone now. What do you think?
I mean,
or is it not relevant? And
yeah, I think it's a really good question, Johannes, and I think this is a case where approval testing would be good. We could just because we have printers for the grid, so we can just check what is the state before and what is the state after, and then we get an assert here or a verify in approval testing terms. Welcome, Benham. I suggest you just be listening in on this session. Join.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, so let's make use of the approval testing feature then, and maybe we can peek at another test and see how we are doing it there, and just copy and paste the approach. My expectation would be, so if put silently ignores the element that the grid looks like before, that nothing has changed about the grid. Let's maybe check if that's actually true.
Okay, actually, accept true. Oh, it's accept, I don't remember.
It could be assertions.
If I look at line 86, and that's the pattern,
assertions,
we might need
like
to write
this.
assertions and with a capital A, and then pick something from the list.
It's accept true, no? And then the condition.
Bjorn, no, Olaf, are you raising your hand? Is this like something?
Yeah, it's like it's an invitation for the navigator to listen in on some concern or idea I have. So we have approval tests higher up in this test suite, so you can mimic the syntax. Because this is just assertions. The approvals version is looking differently.
Okay,
Something like
so
this.
let's scroll up a bit. Maybe Olaf, you can point us at the line
like
number and then
line 40 or around there.
okay, let's go to line 40 then.
Line 40.
Is this what you?
So we have a verify call in the end of this method.
Yeah.
This one.
Okay, so we call approvals.verify. I see. And
Do I try if it runs this test? Let me check.
yeah, let's see. Okay, Olaf again.
Yeah, I just want to remind Guillem of the typist hat.
Okay.
No decisions of the keyboard.
Okay.
It's the navigator you're listening on.
Oh, so you cannot even run the test without asking?
Well, I think it's that's fine. I think, but it just felt like now Guillem is going for it by himself. He's not listening on you anymore.
I see. So
that's just speculation. Sorry.
Understood. So help me understand the stack trace. What do I see? So the third last line is from our code, right? It's from grid approval test.java. All the others. Oh no, yeah. Let's look at the top of the problem. What is the problem? Yeah, let's try this. Okay, so we expect nothing, but we get something. I guess we need to copy the actual output now to the expected. So approval test means we have some golden master that we compare against. So we have an actual output now, or an actual result. Let's copy this right from the
line 40. Let me check. In here, grid, not the grid.
I'd like you to click the click to see difference link again in the test output.
Okay.
And just copy what you see in the actual thing. Copy it to the clipboard. On the left side, you see a new file which is not part of the repository. It's marked red.
This one?
Yes. And copy was not necessary, right? We can just rename this file to approved. So replace received by approved in the file name. So I'd like you to right-click the file and refactor rename. I think it's the command.
Something like that?
Yes, this is the new file that we are working on now. It will contain the golden master. So right-click the file, refactor rename, and look for the, oh, I don't see, probably you're sharing just the window and not your display. So you need to perform it without me telling you what to do. I will tell you what to do. So look for received, replace it with approved. You did this already, right?
Yes.
Great. Oh, sorry, I didn't notice. I didn't
see.
No problem. I cannot speak. I cannot.
No, it's fine. Cancel this dialog and rerun the test. This should give us a green test now, because what we stored in the file, or what is stored in the file, is the same what we get now. And so
we have a well. I just want to comment a bit. I think we saw two things here. It's better to share the whole screen. We as a team or ensemble, we want to see the whole context, not only one thing. We're as developers, we're not only looking at the IDE, we're looking at Googling or the pop-up windows or whatever. So usually I just go for sharing full screen. The other thing is that Guillem, I just want to nuance my thing here, that don't make decisions. Of course, you're an intelligent keyboard and make some micro decisions. It's more like the direction, and also you are allowed to speak. For example, just clarifying, asking Johannes, did you mean like this or like this? Like a dialogue. It's more like when it comes to making design decisions or taking the direction somewhere else, when I think the typist is going off rails, kind of. So thank you very much. And we have a rotation.
Yeah, I think so. So for me, the test is still not done because we are not checking that the grid looks the same before and after.
Oh yeah. So that's a good point. So in approval tests, we really just compare the runtime output in the test with the what we have on disk, so the approved text file. So if we look at the approved text file, Guillaume, if you could show us that one, yes. This is what we get from the grid after we put. And so the question is, what did we have before we did the put? So we could, we could temporarily change the test, I guess, not doing the put, but that looks like an empty grid to me. So if we created a grid with 2x3 elements on row 83, and then it just stays empty. So I'm convinced because I wrote this representation, so I know that means an empty grid. But maybe we could look at. We haven't seen the printers, so we could just look at what's happening here really. So on if you go to the test we wrote, the new test.
That's not the test we wrote. I think it's
it's further down. I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Now
so what's happening here is that when we call approvals verify instead of assert, because it replaces asserts in approval tests, we get a text representation of the grid. Verify just takes any object and uses this toString thing in Java. It's a bit different in different languages how it's implemented. So if we navigate to my bounded grid, we should see a method that's called toString. Yeah, Control B in
Control B
Windows, or Control click in yeah. So a bit down, you can see a toString method. Cool. Here.
This one.
Yeah, so this is what we are looking at in the approval text file. It just makes a string representation of the object. So a grid of so many rows and so many columns, and then it prints the content. So print with a print cells called there. So the print cells just goes through the grid and dumps. If you scroll down a bit, you can see print cells.
Cells.
Thank you. So it just goes through the array and does print row for each row. And the print row is just below here. If you scroll down a bit, we have print row. So it just builds a string representation and using dot for empty elements, and the element representation otherwise. So yeah, I think we can look at the text files on the left-hand side. If you look at, for example, the second text file, the blue block in center. Yeah, double click that one. So this is what the string representation of a grid with a blue block in the middle looks like. So I do explain a bit of these concepts in the video I posted on the between session 1 and session 2, if you want to dig deeper. But I think this is okay for now. If there are any questions, so that's why, Johannes, I just saw that this is an empty grid. If we go back to our new red file, yeah, so this is just an empty grid. So the put didn't do anything. But thanks for clarifying that with me. It's the curse of knowledge. It's called. Okay, let's do a rotation. Don't forget to push, Guillaume. And
don't forget to push. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Commit verify grid.
And Jonas, did you get an environment?
I think so.
Cool.
Okay, all yours.
Well, hopefully.
And yes, do you want to do a typist recap, Guillaume?
Yes, what we did was just add from line 40 the way that we assert things on the code, and it's a method called let me check the name of the method. It's called approvals, and you can find then some functions that can help you to validate what we are validating.
Yeah. So Google a bit on approval tests or check the video if you want to dig into how its concepts. The idea is simple: just use verify instead of assert, and compare text files for like a lot of state, a full state of something. Cool. So I think this was a really good thing. We have added approval test for this put method, and we're kind of convinced that put doesn't do anything. So now we're ready to do the refactoring we tried initially, I think. So Jonas, would you like to just simplify the put method?
That would be here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the simplification was to use the verify position, right? Or...
Yeah, just removing the for loops, which are completely redundant, and using that just assign, but with a guard probably like in get, so that it's like currently it just fails, it doesn't do anything silently. So keeping the same behavior of put, we're just doing refactoring for now. Yeah, great, thanks.
Right.
Mm.
So that's what we want to do. And you wanted some...
Yeah, because we want to make sure the location is valid. So the loops are just going through all locations and checks if the row and column is the same as the inputs.
Mm-hmm.
So it does this silent. It doesn't update if it's outside the grid.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we had some way to check that
We
it is
did.
valid, right?
It's valid, like in get. Yeah.
It's valid. Yeah.
We should just do the row 41 then.
If it, well, all right, if it is valid, but
Yep.
just like that.
Great. And try run the tests. We didn't break anything. Nice. It's a commit, I think. And perhaps I'm thinking next step would be to try to get some more coverage on grid, or maybe we could find more things to simplify with the current tests we already have. Cool. Did you run coverage so we can see what has covered, so what we can refactor? Oh, can you change the color? You right click the green bar in the gutter beside the line numbers. You can set the color. I remember we did this last time. Appearance maybe. No, that wasn't it. It was some kind of cogwheel, wasn't it? Does anyone remember? Maybe click the left click instead of right click. Maybe. What was that? Yeah, there it is. You have this. The branch. Make it a bit clearer. Thanks.
And that's for one of them.
Yeah, and the red one is also. I remember it was really bleak. There we have.
That one. Yeah.
Good. So now it's easier to see. And we have, remove, it does a similar thing again, doesn't it? It does for loops and yeah.
So we want to get this is what we want to do, right?
Yeah, we don't forget the former one. We want to have the former.
Just doing some copy paste coding here, you know.
Yeah.
And kind of want that one as well, right?
Yeah, we don't want to go outside now either. Yes.
That instead.
You could actually use
one.
the get row. Yeah. The yes.
Like that.
Beautiful. And rerun the coverage. And it just returns null. Why is it? Why was? I mean, now that we have cleaned it up, why was former there even? It didn't even return it, right? So we can simplify even more. It's not used. The former wasn't used.
No, we never had it before.
Yeah, we had it. Go back. Lars has some comment.
Are we allowed to jump in and like answer these questions immediately?
Yeah, I mean, the finger in there, just like you did now, is the kind of this structured approach where I mean, the way I teach Ensemble Working is this is a starting point to kind of get the team up to speed. But when you're ready and you're like more used to Ensemble, I think it's more common to just have several navigators when you have a good dynamic in the team.
Right, because I was just going to say that we were returning it after setting it.
Yeah.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was a bit too quick here when I.
And me too, apparently. Thanks for enlightening us, Lars.
Too late.
So we actually want to do.
I suspect that we have a switch probably. I forgot to start the timer. I think it's been five minutes, right?
Right. So let's just ensure that we didn't break anything now. I'll push this. There you go.
Cool.
There we go.
Nice, and it's Lars, typist, and Johannes navigating.
Can you help me with the next step?
Yeah, oh yes, we've got the typist recap. Maybe a typist recap first, Jonas.
Right, we refactored the remove and put methods to remove the unnecessary for loops and reuse the validation logic instead.
And Johannes, perhaps we could revisit the goal for the session if just looking at the Miro.
Grid, cover, and clean. What would this include? Like, is this what we've been doing already? I guess no.
Yeah,
yes.
I've been working on the grid. I mean, it's called my bounded grid, but we just simplify the name to grid when we talk about it.
So do you want to get more coverage on this get occupied location, maybe?
That would be one thing. I would also like to rename this name class name. My bounded grid. Just call it grid. We talk about it like grid. That would be another thing.
I see. So let's start with this step. Let's rename the class to grid. And then I'd like you to run the test just to see that this refactoring. Oh, we need to go through some. I see. The tests are green, so I'd like you to make a commit so that this refactoring is a single step that we took and that we are clean in terms of Git after that. I assume we do not care about the warnings so much. But has the commit taken place? I don't think so. I guess if you do commit, we can push in the end, right? Just do the commit now. Ah, the commit has taken place. Understood. Okay, okay. Yeah, I see this. I saw this other red indicator. So it tells me there's maybe some test missing. Let's try to come up with a test for get occupied locations. I would use the approval approach again. Maybe you can, you are already doing this. Although I didn't tell you what to do. Okay, fine. Yeah, let's create a new test and let's just name it like the method for now. That's the happy path. Olaf?
Yeah, I just I have a bit of an observation that this get occupied locations is returning a list of locations, and right now we only have printer for my bounded grid. So just so you notice that if we're going to use approvals, we need printers for that array list of location. That's fine. We could add that.
Oh yeah. So would it be easier not to use approvals in the
Maybe, I
first
don't know. I mean, it depends on the amount of research we need to do. So to understand that, one is if we go to the previous test, the put test we did. So to verify that using just plain asserts, to get the same amount of information in the test, we would need to check every location of the grid, right?
Sure.
That would be 6 asserts. So that would be a lot more, kind of. I think it feels more. We have 6 asserts, but so it depends, I think.
Okay, so the first case, if you have an empty grid and there is nothing occupied, I guess then it's easy to just do a plain assert. Get occupied locations for empty grid. Yeah, let's rename the test like this, and let's create our grid again. We are not doing anything with the grid, and we want to see that get occupied locations returns an empty list, something like that. Let's run the test, or let's run all tests. It doesn't matter. Like all, yeah. It's fast anyway. Okay, that seems good. I guess the next test case would be that if there is one occupied location. So let's have our grid again. Let's put something at a valid location. And oh, yeah, nice. It might, is it okay like this, or does it need to be new location? What you pass into the put method? Okay. I guess we could assert on a specific location, which is 1, 1. I mean, we could first assert that the array is not empty, but yeah. Let's first check that it's not empty. That's probably easier.
Yeah, so we have a timer again. Can we have a typist recap? Was it Lars? Or we can't hear you. Oh, sorry. I hit mute the millisecond you unmuted yourself. Sorry, I tried to unmute you. Sorry.
So we started by renaming the My Binary Grid to Grid, and then we started adding test coverage for the get occupied locations. We did the empty grid and we put one location, and that's where we are.
Yep, cool. And Guillem, you ready for some typing? Typist
Okay,
hat.
let's go. Give me a second.
Yep.
Okay, then. Yeah. Desktop. Okay. Then let me
Get the changes.
hit go.
And so we started adding some coverage for the get the occupied locations, and we were writing a test here. So let's continue with this assert based for now. It's
Okay.
just one location, so I'd like to assert on the location, the location we get back from get occupied locations. So we have let's have a variable for that list.
Okay.
And just check that the element is that one is what we expect, which is 1, 1.
Something called locations, for example.
You need a var or something before it. Yeah. Cool. And then let's assert that this the first element of that locations is
It's equals to something, or it's true.
Equals maybe. It depends on if we have a equals equality in the
Locations. Get.
Yeah. That should be 1, I believe. And the same for the column. Oh, what happened?
Oh, sorry. Save.
How do you like changing the first assertion to checking the size is 1 instead of not empty?
Yeah, good. We can do that. So I think this is a good learning point, because we're just adding more and more assertions, right? If we for 2 locations, it would be a really thick and quite unreadable mess, wouldn't it? Right? This is getting you really have to look into the details of what was that row and column. I think this is a good value for approval tests, because it just makes the assert part so much more readable. You just look at some good text representation of the state. Now that we don't have printers for the array of locations, which we could potentially add a method to print locations. But just as a general observation, this is getting messy, right? Already with 1 location. Yeah. But let's go for this. Let's check the coverage and see where we're at.
Okay, the coverage.
Yeah. Run the coverage icon, the shield up to the right. Yeah. For all we need all tests then, not only 1 test, because we want the coverage from all the result of all tests.
All test.
Yeah. So when you run coverage, you want to run all tests. Otherwise, you just get the coverage from 1 test.
And test with coverage. Okay.
Yes. So click the checkbox there and replace active suits. We did some settings last time to get rid of that pop-up and minimize that window. That we're not interested really in that. We are interested in the coverage. So if you move that window to the side.
This one.
Yeah. And let's go to the grid and check the coverage.
To the grid. Here?
So can we go to the grid class?
Grid class, okay. 100% methods, 100% lines covered.
So we can change the colors on the bars. If you click and change the color there, so we can read it better. And green. Yeah.
Here.
And we probably have some better coverage now of the method we looked at. That get occupied locations was the method we were looking at.
Get occupied
Scroll up a bit.
locations. This one?
Yep. So that looks good. So let's see if we can simplify this in some way. Oh, okay, typist recap.
Okay, let me just commit the changes.
Were there any changes?
Oh yes, with the test.
Oh yeah, that made.
We added. I don't remember the name of the method. 1 second. Oh.
My question would be, we have 3 assert statements now there. I guess this could be easily simplified to 1 by asserting that the list, that the actual value is a list of one location, right? Is there a reason that we split it up like this? Or
we could probably simplify it to that. Let's try it. It depends on if there is equality defined for the elements.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good improvement. Smaller step than doing it approval test style. So Johannes navigating and Jonas probably be our last rotation until retro.
Yeah, I guess it's a refactoring I'd like to try. So a refactoring in the test code where we potentially replace the 3 assert statements we have by a single one. Maybe we can add a 4th one and this will become our, don't remove them for now, just add another assert statement where you assert that locations is exactly like is a list which has 1 location. So I guess you need to create a new list somehow in the test and put a location instance inside. I don't know what is an elegant way to do that in Java, but I guess someone here knows. There is list.off, right? To create a new list somehow. Okay, so what you're doing on 112 is not what I intended to have. So I'd like you to compare locations to a list. So basically assert equals assertions.assert equals locations, and we want to compare it to a list. So try list with a capital L and then off. And we pass in the elements, and the element is a new location. Again, like it looks very similar to what we have in the put statement. And we might also extract this in a second, but so location would be 1, 1. Yeah, so this is how I would like the test to look like. Olaf mentioned that it might fail for now. Let's see. It doesn't.
Cool. So there is.
So this means we can get rid of the other 3 assert statements that we had there previously. And I'd, delete them. And I'd also like you to extract this new location invocation into a, not just put the cursor on location, for example, where we create the instance. So a bit to the right, yes. Right-click, refactor, extract variable. Or sorry, it's called introduce variable. And pick the first one, yes, new location. And we can replace both occurrences. And I'd like you to call it expected location, or is expected, or just location. I don't know. So one of the 2. Let's go with this. Okay, we simplify the test a little bit. I like that. There is another refactoring I'd like to do to the tests. We are grading the grid every time. And I think I'd like a helper method for that because it's always the same. And do we have time for that, or should we just
Let's see.
stop
So
here?
got a couple of minutes. Let's see. Yeah, 3 minutes.
Let's try it. So I'd like you to put the cursor on line 105 on where we create the grid, like on the class name. And also try refactor. Is it extract method? Yeah, and let's call it create grid. I think as long as we are always using the same size, there is no need to specify it any further. But just create grid. Camel case, so small c, capital G. And let's see if PyCharm offers us, not PyCharm, IntelliJ offers us to replace. Yes, so just go through the offered replacements and yeah.
Beautiful.
I think we made our tests a little bit cleaner here. It's interesting why it didn't offer it for line 69. Does anyone know why this is the case? Is it another dimension?
Maybe it's,
Oh, it's another. It has
Type.
string instead of block.
yeah. For the readability of the approval test, so we use string for those.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I've been muted all the time here.
Oh, you've been trying to communicate.
I
Yeah,
did the
sorry.
same thing before.
That must be frustrating.
I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
even notice that you wanted to say something. It was fine for me, but maybe not for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And I think Olaf wanted to also let's run all the tests. And I think Olaf wanted to refactor the get occupied thing method as well.
Yeah, that was the goal of kind of this coverage now.
And
Sorry, the what?
the method that we tested now, it's get occupied. I forgot what. You can switch to the other open file. Yeah, get occupied locations.
Yes.
Maybe there isn't any obvious thing.
Does anyone have an obvious or some idea for refactoring for this method? I guess we cannot get rid of the for loops here. We need to go through every location.
Cool, but I think if we revisit the goal, we have got somewhere. Can we have a look at the mirror?
Maybe
Can we just finish
commit
up here?
and
Yeah.
push
Commit push. Good. Let's do that first.
Go.
Yeah, so I think we got somewhere on the first focus. We didn't reach the second. Right. That's good. What do you got there? So let's have a little retro. I usually have that last 10 minutes of the session. So I'll just create a frame for that. So how about think what you liked about this session and perhaps what you learned in this session.
I think I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah,
now.
sure.
If I can.
And
find
let's
that.
have some minutes for that, and then we'll have discussion. Hey Thomas, we are doing the retrospective, adding some notes. There. And the prompt is, what did you like and what did you learn? And take some time to add some emoticons on what you appreciate, what notes, to read through the notes and So let's have a little have a little look. So we got some nice positive things like being just typist. So we did a little experiment with having the hats, the typist and navigator hat, right? We had 2 navigators and 3 typists. Maybe we could discuss a bit about how we did that, because we did it much more strictly the first 2 sessions. Like all that are joining are doing typist and navigator. So this time we experimented a bit. How did it feel?
When I participated last time, I was the only one without any experience of the code base. I thought, at least it felt like that, and it was really hard, and I didn't have that great feeling when I was the navigator, because I had a hard time like deciding what to do. So it was much more comfortable this time when I had got to be only typist. So I really liked that pattern.
And as one of my notes was that I really liked that you joined in, Johannes. I was a bit afraid of being navigating all the session, so I'm really happy you joined in, Johannes.
I was afraid navigating, not knowing the code base, but I think it worked out well for me.
And we have a couple of typists that forgot to unmute themselves. How did that feel?
I didn't notice. I was asking questions, and Johannes replied to me, even though you apparently didn't hear what I was saying. So I didn't notice until I was doing the recap. That was weird.
Maybe you didn't know what you didn't do what I wanted you, and then I explained again, and maybe this kind of answered your questions. I don't know.
Were you the navigator for 2 separate mic like mute issues, because you were my navigator when I was muted? Was it the same with Lars?
Maybe.
And how was it? I mean, we did work a bit on approvals without having really done any teaching or like workshop or. Oh, we lost Thomas and Johannes.
I've never seen that concept as a built-in feature before. I haven't worked with Java in I think 15 years or something, so I haven't seen it there either. But I like the idea. Is that sort of the standard name for the concept, or?
Trying to get that name being used. So there is a approvaltest.com, I think, site which explains kind of the concepts, and so the technique of snapshot testing or golden image testing or characterization tests. There's a lot of names for it. So usually when you've been developing for a while, you notice that this pattern that I want to capture a lot of data to see the behavior of my system, and we keep reinventing it on our own. And this is kind of the name that we're trying to use for this concept of diff testing. Or so usually it's common that you have tried it somehow. You've invented it at home, like like you were on that. You were building our own nuts and bolts at every place. So that's we're trying to use that name, technical cultures approval testing. And it's not built in Java either. It's a library called approval tests. It is built in Jest. It's called snapshots there in Jest. And I think it's we have only dipped our toes in it. I think it's really valuable for legacy code, especially where you're quite unsure about the state of things, and you don't know how it behaves. And if you just find some way to capture a lot of state, or for example logs or images, whatever, something that's output of the system, if you can capture that into a approval file, you can make refactorings on a larger scale, and you can see changes happening. And you usually combine it with combinatorial approvals and mutation testing to be sure that you can't just do one. We have done a little bit too little test now to be sure. You want many different combinations of inputs to be more sure about the quality of the approval test.
And I worked a bit with like randomized testing, where you just match the system with different data and ensure that what you get is what you expect, and this could be combined with that. So
yeah, I mean combinatorial approval testing is basically just you change the inputs in different combinations, and you get a huge amount of data output, a lot of states. And it sounds a bit like this if you do randomized. You still have to capture something, I guess, in randomized. Or what did you mean by randomized?
If you have, like, for example, if you've written a simple parser or something, and you don't want to write every single test case, you can just write something that randomizes a correct expression, and then it's supposed to be parsed, and then you can verify.
And you can get back the same,
And you can randomize like tree structures or graph data, or when you have complex structures and you just want to get enough data that it's statistically likely that all different cases, edge cases occur. You can combine that with a single test code coverage. Just see that this complex structure is complex enough to give you all the different cases. And then
it does sound to me a little bit more like property-based tests. So where you're basically generating a lot of random inputs, and then you can assert. You can't really assert on the exact data because you don't know it, but you can assert on properties of the output or the behavior. So, for example, in your parse test, it would be that you can assert that the same pretty printed string of the structure is. No, you can't do that either because you don't have it. You can assert that how would that work for a parser? So you have a random input string.
Well, maybe the parser is probably not a good example for it, but say that you have something that transforms a graph structure. So you generate some kind of structure, and you do some transformation of it, and then you assert that the transformation is correct. You don't explicitly build how the graph looks initially.
Yeah, you can assert some properties on the resulting result, right? Like it's not empty, and it's got certain nodes. You know that there's always certain nodes in the graph, or you know that it's a certain size or maybe some depth. It's like, this is why it's called property-based testing. You know properties about the output. And it's I haven't dipped too much into property-based testing because I think it's so complicated to write the tests. It's like complicated programming to get those tests right. This assertion base or approval test is like examples. It's called checked examples.
Right, but it's just that the example that you create here is a big complex structure, and since you don't want to change the behavior of the system. If it's wrong or if it's right, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that it stays intact. So if you create something that has a large coverage with enough complex data, and you store that result as one of these this approval file, right?
Mm.
So instead of writing a small specific structure for it, then you can just render it, generate some random complexity and lock that in.
Yep. But you have to re-render the same thing with approval tests, the same random thing.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's just seeded random functions.
Yep. Cool. Thank you very much for today. And we, I think we went a bit over time, so probably people had to leave for the meetings. But hope to see you some next session, some other session. Thanks for joining.
Bye bye.